What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it. Before we get into the TA, I want to do a little bit of a what I like to call story time with C-Zar. I'm going to paint you a picture. I'm going to write you a story here, okay? And it doesn't have to be real, but it's going to be based on realistic possibilities. It's based on true events, I suppose. Okay. Now, everybody today, obviously, we're all very aware of what's going to happen today, right? It is the White House Crypto Summit that's going on this Friday, the 7th of March, okay? A lot of people in the space, people who are brand new to the space, and the OGs too. Some of the OGs aren't saying this, but a lot of them are, and just basically everybody in the space is aware of this sell the news event, right? That's the thing. And sell the news events are a thing. Oftentimes what happens is you hear that the White House summit is over here. It's like this day over here, and you're like, okay, well, that's a buy the hype. And then once the event happens, you sell the news, right? Buy the hype, sell the news. It's a sell the news event. But what happens with buy the hype, sell the news events? Well, you generally pump into them. And this is not a pump into that sell the news event. Don't be mistaken, right? We pumped here because of the announcement, the validation of the strategic crypto reserve happening, right? That's why we pumped there, okay? Today is the day of the White House crypto whatever going on. I can't think of the words right now, but I don't care to. A lot of people are expecting that it'll be a sell the news event. So think about all the people who want to go short. Think about all the people who have used leverage and shorted this thing, or who have taken out positions to the downside. Think about all the people who sold in anticipation of this, or who might not have sold. They weren't quite convinced, but then as we move lower and it becomes quote unquote more real, like we are going to move down, how many people went short throughout this whole range of a wick? How many people right now are probably still short? Here's the story. Once upon a time, there was a White House crypto summit, and everybody in crypto believed they were smarter than they actually are. They believed that something that was super obvious as a sell the news event would allow them to all make a bunch of money without even thinking about it. They believed that the fact that the price opened up in the first 4 hours to the downside, we were down 5 or 6% in the first 4 hours. They believed that that was validation to their bias of this sell the news event. What do you think they did? They probably went short. Now I ask you, those same people who are clearly underwater now and they're losing money, for those of you who don't understand what a short position is, it's where you make money on the price going down. Okay, look into it more. I'm not going to go into too much details on that, but those same people, getting back to story time, are now underwater and they're holding their breath. What are they holding their breath for? They're holding their breath for the crypto summit at the White House. That's what they're holding their breath for. They're thinking, you know what? I got in at a bad moment, but it's still a sell the news event. I'm just going to hold out for this event to happen, and it's going to come down, okay? Likely what's going to happen is during the event, we're going to get a rip. We're going to get a ripperoo. We're going to rip right on through, maybe up to 95K, 96K, or beyond. Who knows? It might be bigger than what I'm making it out to be. But likely, however big it is, after the event's over or sometime during the event, it will come back down. People will go long. People will cut their losses. People will literally cut their losses and go long at probably the worst amount of time, the worst time ever. And then effectively, the price will come back closing today neutral or somewhere around a price that doesn't matter. That hurts both longers and shorters. Because what's going to happen here is if the event's pumping, people are going to start thinking, everybody's wrong. Why did I listen to that guy who told me that it was a sell the news event? I'm so dumb. It's clearly going to go through the roof. This is bullish. It's the crypto summit. Of course it is. And then whenever it comes back down, that same thought of, okay, it's a sell the news event. Why did I buy up here? Of course it was a sell the news event. It's going to play with everybody's emotions. And what's likely not going to happen at all is that we close significantly higher or significantly lower today. Now, I will accept if we were to have a significant move at all today, it would likely be to the upside. But I'm not expecting that personally. Depends on what happens, I guess. If something crazy, like a catalyst that nobody was expecting happens, then we would likely pump. But I think something tells me that if that happened, if that were to be the case, we would have been moving up into this event. The insiders would know. And that's oftentimes what drives bullish sell the news events, right? You have insider information about how bullish it's going to be. And then by the time the news comes out, it's not that the news is bearish, it's that it's already priced in. So price regulates, right? The insiders traded based off of that. And then once the event happens and everybody's aware of it, they're anticipating the price to go up, it sells. And that happens so that the average person loses money in crypto, not the average person makes money in crypto. That's not how it is, right? The average person doesn't make money in this game, they lose money. So pay attention to what the average person thinks. If we're thinking that the average person loses money in this game, then that would mean that the average person is wrong, right? You can't be, and you can lose money even if you're right. Don't get me wrong. You still can lose money even if you're right more often than you're wrong. But if the average person's wrong, if the average person is losing money, then that would mean that ideally you would do opposite of what the average person does in this game. Be a contrarian. Be against the herd. Don't follow into the herd mentality. And right now, the herd is mooing. They're saying, move on down. It's a sell the news event. And I'm saying, buddy. Calling my border collie over and saying, we're going up. We're going right to the bullpen, baby. The bear den is dead. We're done. We're done with it. We're going higher. Daily time frame, daily RSI here. Bouncing off the 40 after bouncing off the 50 area here. If we can get back above the 50, especially if we can get above the 60 on the daily RSI, there's no disputing it at that point, guys. We're going through the roof. We're going to see new all-time highs, okay? Something that would take us to the 60, we would likely have to have a daily close above $96,500. And $96,500 is a big deal because from a high to a low, that's right at the golden ratio there, 96.3 technically on this chart. But I think 96.5 just rolls off the tongue better. Anyways, closing above the golden ratio at any case would be very bullish. It would be an indication that not only are we not moving below these lows, but that we're being productive in the fibs, and likely our next stopping point would be something between $102,000 to $105,000, if not just below 102 at 101.8. A lot of cryptos lately have loved to just rip through their golden ratio and tip the 786 and then get some wicked volatility down to their 0.5 or 382s or even lower than that. And then from there, they rip and then they see new highs relative to their highs. In this case, new highs relative to this high would be a new all-time high for Bitcoin. And I very much do expect that over the next 2 weeks, by the end of this month, we will be at new all-time highs. Within the next 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks from now, but within the next 2 weeks, I suspect Bitcoin will be at new all-time highs. A lot of people in the space, they do this thing where they don't like to give you a time frame. They like to call for the prices and then celebrate, right? I'm not afraid of giving you a time frame. If I do, just understand that time frames are oftentimes harder to guess, and that will promote more inaccurate estimations, right? If you use time frame, but the price action, the price predictions have been the same from whenever we were moving boring to when we're here, right? 130K, 170K, they haven't become any less likely to happen. And what I'm getting at here, you guys, is that regardless of when it happens, and I expect it to happen in the next 2 weeks, I expect that we will be at 134 to 137, maybe even above that by the end of March. That's the target area by the end of the month. Beyond that, I at least expect it's going to happen. It's going to happen at some point here. And when I say that, I don't mean it's going to happen 10 years from now. I mean, it's likely going to happen by the end of this month, if not next month, right? We're in that time frame where we have to get going. If we don't, the bull market might very well be over, but that doesn't make any sense at all that the bull market would be over right now. 120K would be the minimum target. 134K is the maximum target given this fib here, but I'm going to think that we could see as high as 137K. I'm going to stick with that analysis from yesterday. If we are to go higher, and I think we are to go higher than that, that would likely be bleeding into April. We'll be bleeding to the upside. It'll be bearish blood we bleed, and we will hit the targets. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. 167K is the 2272. It's very, very common with the 2272 for Bitcoin and for other cryptos especially to go just above it. And just above it there is at about 170K. We have targets at 170, 173K, and beyond, right? If we take this high here, the high from March 11th last year to the low here on August 5th of last year, of this overall long phase of consolidation around the halving era, the next target area would be the 2272, and it's very common to go just above the 2272, so these are fair game for sure. The 2618 is the target after that, and then we keep going up all the way here. We get the money zone. I colored it orange for the sake of Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin is the new color of money. Green is out, orange is in, you guys. Orange is the new green. We're going to take that title too. We're taking everything from you guys. 173K is the top of that money zone at the 3113. And if you are to go above the 2272, that likely would be where you stop. So I think that that's where you go. Could you go to 180K? Could you go beyond that? Sure, absolutely you could. But I think that would be for a later date. And I do think Bitcoin will be worth multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars by the end of the cycle. I think that we will see a target of about 500,000 by the end of the cycle. And if anything, maybe we see more. But the only way that we could see more than 500K, and I say if anything, we could see less too. It's possible that we could stop at lower prices. You never know. But I definitely think that multiple hundreds of thousands is on the table. If we see more than 500,000, that would likely imply one of two things. Either one, we're going to see a very stupendous next quarter of the year. Okay, this next quarter is going to be phenomenal. Or more likely, the cycle would have to extend in time. And wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be funny? Because going back on the whole notion that the average person in crypto is wrong, okay? The average person loses money whenever it comes to markets, not just crypto, but when it comes to stocks even, right? Everything. The average person's wrong. This whole cycle, up until recently, mind you, up until recently, oh, look at my face, it froze. Up until recently, this whole cycle, people have been saying that this would be a left translated cycle, that the cycle would end. People were saying that the cycle would end in 2024. This whole damn cycle. Not me. I was saying that it wouldn't end until late 2025. People now are starting to get on board with that, right? But most of the time, people were saying it'd be a left translated cycle. Wouldn't it be funny? Wouldn't it be ironic? Wouldn't it be exactly what I'm saying, against the herd, if instead of it being a left translated cycle, it was a right translated cycle? What does left translated, what does right translated mean? Left translated means that it's a shorter cycle, okay? Right translated means it's a longer cycle. That's all it means, right? Just use that as a basic concept. And oftentimes too, what a lot of these people who are theorizing that it would be a left translated cycle and not a right translated cycle, even though Bitcoin is notorious for right translated cycles, that's literally what it's notorious for. A lot of the people that fail to understand that left translated cycles are often only a thing that happens in bear markets. It's not something that's most common in bull markets. It's actually most common in bear markets. So for people to make that call that this would be a left translated cycle back here, it just never seemed appropriate to me, right? Never seemed appropriate to me. But we still considered it. As time went on, it's become less and less likely. And it's at this point, I just think it's absolutely impossible that this will be a left translated cycle. But you never know. Maybe we do. Maybe we do only have one more run up in us. We stop at 170 to 180K, and that's it. And if it is, we will have a bunch of indicators flashing at us. But we're nowhere near having these top indicators flashing yet. So I don't think that's going to be the case. I do think there will be a lot of selling there. I think that a lot of people are going to only look at last cycle. They're going to see this high to low here, and they're going to see, oh, we stopped at the golden ratio. So if that's where we stopped this time, then that must be where we stop next time, at the 1618 right there at 173K. That must be it. Look at this golden ratio there. If we take this high to low, that's also the money zone right there with the 3113, multiple fibs lining up. It makes sense, right? But the thing is, people forget too quickly that Bitcoin high to low went all the way up to its 2272 on its second bull cycle, just above the 2272. High to low here. Whoa, hold on. Okay, there we go. 2272 here, just above the 2272. So if people are basing it off of the last cycle, that we went only to the 1618 as a double top, well, sure, 173, 180K might make sense. 100, 200K, it's probably hard to fathom prices that are 400,000 or above. But if you take the prior cycles into consideration and not last cycle's weak, lackluster COVID cycle, we were recovering from COVID, quantitative tightening, high inflation all around the world, and the dollar, the DXY, was gaining strength, gaining value. We also had Ukraine and Russia going into conflict, going into war openly for like that was the beginning of it, right? People were more concerned with World War III. People are pretty concerned with World War III now, but I don't think it's actually going to happen. I think it's just a media piece, right? Just as it was then, as it is there. You know what they were saying back there, right? I'm not even going to get into it. We're not going to get into the politics. I want to keep it to Bitcoin, but let's just say, don't believe the media. The media is not there to help you. They're there to inform you so that you are charged emotionally with something. Fear, greed, whatever kind of emotion they're trying. It's normally the bad emotions, right? Not the good ones. But they're not there to help you. They're there to inform you what they want you to believe. And you might not know what the truth is in the media, but you can at least know what the lie is. So whatever they're saying the loudest, when I mean Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, ABC, any and all of those conglomerates in the mainstream media, BBC, right? There's probably, I'm not familiar with international newses, but you guys know your mainstream medias as well. You don't know what the truth is, but you can sure as shit know what the lies are, because they will be saying that the loudest. It's not meant to help you. It's meant to persuade you. Okay. And make no sense. Make no mistake. It makes no sense right now. The media is trying to portray Bitcoin and crypto as this bearish thing. Is trying to portray as if the bull market's over, and it's not over, you guys. We likely will see targets that are at 462,000 or higher. And I do accept if we go just above the 2272, that put us right at about $500,000. So that's my expectation by the end of the cycle. I've been calling for that since 2022, I think. Yeah, since the end of 2022. Been calling for that all throughout. I mean, all throughout this bull cycle. That hasn't changed at all. When we were at these lows, we were starting to think that, maybe that's not an appropriate target, but it all depended on how low we went. I did say that if we go to 74K, if we go to 69K, that would mean we have a lot more time to recover, right? If we went down there, it would be time to reconsider different targets, but we didn't. We actually did not go lower. We held the floor at an area that didn't make sense to hold, other than this very somewhat obvious golden ratio down here. I'm going to try and just show you guys real quick, right? Something that a lot of people don't talk about, but from a low to a high here, you literally tipped the golden ratio to a 0.1618 golden ratio at 78.6K. It was perfect. And then also the parabolic sequence that we're in, which is what Kevin Svensson, if you guys know who Kevin Svensson is, he's been identifying this trend as a parabolic trend. I don't know, it just looks like a straight parallel channel up, but Kevin Svensson's a very talented individual. I respect his TA. I think that he knows what he's talking about, and it makes sense to me the way that he draws it, the way that he shows it. It definitely seems as if we're in a parabolic trend. I wonder if that's just, though, it can't be in log. Yeah, it would have to be not in log. It has to be in a linear chart. Anyways, getting back to the main point. Why is all this happening? Come on now. Getting back to the main point here. The only way that I would see us going above $500,000 would be if we did this very ironic thing, maybe not so ironic, which is exactly the opposite of what people were expecting this whole cycle. Instead of it being a left translated cycle, if it's a right translated cycle, if we stop in 2026, we likely will see targets that are as high, and maybe for the first time ever in Bitcoin's history, breaking not just to the 2272, but hitting the 2618. This would be my absolute maximum target by the end of the cycle. I don't think we would interact with the money zone. I don't believe we're going to get $1 million Bitcoin this cycle. No, that's reserved for next cycle. Okay. But 500,000 to 775. I'm more open to 775K now than I've been throughout this whole cycle, but I'm not counting on it. I would say we have like a 10% chance to go here, like an 80% chance to go here, and then less than 10% or 10% or less. Maybe I shouldn't even say that. I should say 10% chance for this as of now. Let's say 70% chance for this, and then the remaining percentage is anything lower than 462K. Okay, I've got nothing else to say. If you guys want to hit that like button, I would greatly appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. And don't get emotional. It's probably best if you don't make any financial decisions today, because it's just going to be, just sit back and watch. Just sit back and watch. It's a lot less emotional. Just sit back and watch, because odds are we're probably going to have a big old nothing / volatile day going up and down, right? It's not going to be a sell the news event. Or if it is, it'll be after we pump. It'll have to be after we pump. You don't sell the news if you're moving down. That's not how it works. All right, take it easy. Bye-bye.